Hi, and welcome to Grant's Hockey Talk again. I am Grant, and my partner, Will Snyder from Avalanche Alley. How you doing, Will?
Oh, doing awesome, sir. How about yourself out there in old Missouri?
It's doing great. I miss Colorado. I miss the mountains. I miss everything about Colorado. Uh, well, we got a little start off with. I'm going to give you a little score highlight right now. The Panthers right now in the second period, leading the number one seeded team in the NHL. The Boston Bruins 2-0 right now. This is huge. Could this be a comeback for the Florida Panthers down 3-1? Boston had a chance to close it out. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Florida forced a game 7, and now they're 2-0.
You don't even know what I picked for my bracket. I picked Bruins, and I picked the Bruins in 5. So my bracket's gonna be crushed if Florida pulls this through. But it is what it is. I mean, it's all about having fun. So far, my bracket, I'm undefeated. I haven't lost one yet. I got Dallas is in, Golden Knights are in, Carolina's in, and what was the other one? Toronto. I got Toronto in. I was gonna try to get one of my friends from Toronto, Captain Danny, to come on. He wanted to go celebrate his victory against Tampa. I just didn't have enough time to get the invite out, but we will have you on, Captain Danny, just to come strut your stuff on the old Leafs, because I can foresee possibly the Avs facing up against the Leafs if they make it all the way to the finals.
Oh,
Year,
definitely.
Definitely. Get there.
Well, let's talk about the Toronto Tampa Bay series. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get back to the Florida Boston series here in a bit, but I want to talk about Toronto and Tampa Bay. I guess this year was not Tampa Bay's year. The last 3 years, they got into the Stanley Cup Finals. They played very well. This year, a surprising surprising Toronto Maple Leafs, an upset. How do you describe that series? 3 overtime games in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay loses all 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that the Bolts are built for the playoffs this year. I don't feel that they were built to handle the Leafs. I thought the Leafs had a lot of really good talent, and like I say, that's the whole reason I predicted it in my bracket, because I just saw the Leafs as just a way stronger team this season. I didn't see Tampa having all the same, key players and clutch players. I mean, obviously, the Leafs getting O'Reilly did help them in this series. There was a lot of people that came through. Actually, the Leafs, the only thing really big difference that they have is a different goaltender. So,
Ilya Samsonov has been an amazing goaltender for Tampa Bay, and I mean, Matt Murray, he's been more of the backup. So, explain, his play throughout this series and how he did against the Tampa Bay Lightning for Samsonov.
Yeah, I mean, Samsonov was really impressive. He stood on his head in the last 3 games. And the thing that's weird about it is that the Leafs got scoring. I think that was what they were unable to get last year in the series, was they just didn't have that scoring, and then they were trying to fall back on Campbell. So it's kind of a big shift when you come look at you have that kind of that trifecta, like the Avs kind of did it last season, where they didn't really have a great goaltender in Darcy Kuemper, but Kuemper kept us in that game, and it was just enough to keep us in the game. And then if we relied on our scoring, we could win. And so I think that's what was the key success for Toronto, was they had good enough goaltending to keep them in the game, to keep the puck out of the net, and they could win with 3 points, 4 points, and they didn't need to score 6, 7 points to win games. So that's what I saw as the big difference, from big contrast from last season.
From last season, Tampa Bay was, last 3 years, they've been heavy favored to win the Stanley Cup. They did 2 years in a row, and ended up eventually falling to the Colorado Avalanche last year in their 3rd straight year in the Stanley Cup Finals. And everybody was thinking that they're going to do a 3-peat. They're going to be the next New York Islanders that was back in the 80s. But unfortunately for them, they didn't happen. The Avs, they pulled it off and won it in 6. What's different besides the core of the Tampa Bay Lightning not making it past the first round?
Well, they just didn't really have that. I mean, when you're relying on Vasi for your 100% to keep the puck out of the net, I feel they lost a few keys in defense. They didn't really have as strong of a defense. I mean, they have good players. Like, do they still have Palat? I think they still
Palat
have
actually went to New Jersey. Palat actually went to New
Okay.
Jersey.
Yeah, so losing Palat, I think, was a big key. There was some big keys that big goal scorers that they lost, and to me, it felt like they just weren't as strong as a team. And I mean, they actually looked pretty good against the Avs in the finals. I was actually able to go to Game 2. That was my first Avs game, my first Stanley Cup playoff game I ever went to. And it was a great game to go to, and we stomped them. But at the same time, they were just had an off night. And then I think it was Game 3 in Tampa was when Kadri scored that OT. Or no, actually Tampa won Game 3. Then Kadri scored the OT game winner in Game 4. Then we were gonna bring it back here to win in Denver, and I think they were talking about a lot of parallels about that with Boston and with Game 7 with the Kraken and everything. Is that we weren't able to get it done here at home and really close them out on the road. So we'll kind of see how that plays out with, as far as Tampa goes. I just feel they lost too many keys towards the trade deadline, and I just didn't feel that their depth was going to be able to make them go deep enough. Like, you look at like the Leafs just getting like really good players, didn't they get Tarasenko or no? Who was it? They got O'Reilly, but there was one other player they got from. I'm trying to think who else they got, but the Leafs just got stacked right at the trade deadline, and I saw that being just a death nail for Tampa.
See,
And
Toronto's
everyone knew the whole time that they were going to play Tampa. Everyone was like, it's going to be Tampa Leafs for a month,
exactly. And with Tampa, or not Tampa, excuse me, Toronto, they are a big threat along with the New York Rangers right now. But if you quite look at it, Toronto, could this be Toronto's year to win the Stanley Cup this year with the core that they have? With Austin Matthews, Tavares scoring the game winner against
Oh,
Tampa Bay.
Tavares, that's who I was thinking of.
Uh, you know, Mitch Marner, and they got Riley on the back end, Samsonov between the pipes. They got a pretty decent core. They're not playing like like the Avs played last year, but it's definitely possible. There's a ton of game sevens right now. Colorado, Seattle. Let's talk about that series right there. That series has been, up and down. Both teams have had the series lead. Colorado 2-1. Of course, Seattle won the first game, leading at 1-0. Colorado won the next two, and the last two went to Seattle, and then Colorado comes back and ties the series. But what difference does it make between the Makar hit on McCann and the Eberle hit on Cogliano? It just doesn't make sense that Makar gets suspended for one game and nothing happens to Eberle for the hit on Cogliano, fracturing Cogliano's neck.
Yeah, so I think that's actually going to be a benefit to us in this Game 7 at home. I feel the crowd's going to be cheering really loud for Makar. I just think that that rather than boo the other guy that we don't like, I think what we're going to do is we're going to cheer really loud every time Makar gets the puck, and I think that's going to kind of turn that whole momentum where it's just going to defeat them. I mean, it's going to put the final dagger. I would really like to see the Avs come out and skate like they did in Game 6. I mean, they had so much jump in that first 6 minutes. I mean, it didn't matter if they scored fluke goals, if they tried weird penalties, like whatever they tried, we were on them. And the thing was, like, we kind of got that little offside goal that kind of it was real close. I mean, it was borderline. Like, I mean, you're talking millimeters of being offsides versus onside
Oh
on that
yeah.
first goal. And then they come down, they get the first goal of the game again 6 times in a row, and then we just handled them. And just to see EJ get his first goal of the playoffs, that was awesome. And I think that's what the Avs need. I think they need that depth scoring. I think we need other players to step up. I still haven't heard if Manson's going to play or not. I know he was day to day, but it'd be nice if we could get a guy like Manson, because I know Sammy G got moved back to the third line, which that kind of is going to possibly help him. And then I really like the Makar Taves combo. That's probably one of the best D combos pairings in the NHL right now.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I think having those two hook up. I predicted last game that Makar would score 5 points. I was just joking because of how mad he's going to be for being suspended. But altogether, the D Corps produced 5 points. So if we could do that as a D Corps, not just one player, but you look at the D Corps had 5 points and the offensive core had 4 points. That's really amazing to have that kind of production from our, just from our whole team all together. And like I say, I think when I look at it, do I think Makar's the dirtiest player in the NHL? No, there's no way in hell you're going to get me to believe that. And I was actually going to try to make some memes about it and show him doing some nasty ankle breakers and, top shelf goals and be like, yeah, you're right. I am the dirtiest player in the NHL. But, it's just that whole thing. Like, we're not going to try to fight fire with fire. We're just going to try to, boost our team and just be like, hey, let's just move on. It's water under the bridge. What happened, happened. We know that what happened with Everly was not, he deserved a 1-game suspension. I think the fact that Cogs came back on the ice is the reason why they decided not to give the suspension. Do I agree with it? Probably not. I don't think that was the correct call, but, it
See
is
with
what
that,
it is. I mean,
see with that call, that could potentially end a career in an instant. It could have been much, much worse for Cogliano. And we all know Cogliano is one of the all-time great vets that's in the league still. I remember him when he was playing for Edmonton and of course Anaheim and also Dallas. I remember him playing on those. I never thought he would be an Avalanche player in my entire life, but since he's in Colorado, he's proven time and time again what his worth is. And we wish nothing but the best to Andrew Cogliano and the speedy recovery right now. And hopefully we can see him back in the lineup next year.
yeah,
All
I
right,
agree with that.
without being
What's that?
said, let's go ahead and take an update on the Florida Panthers with 11:14 to go. It's still 2-0. Series tied at 3 right now. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the goal scores so far in this game. Right now, Matador and Reinhardt, the only goals right now for the Florida Panthers. Bobrovsky picked up an assist, and so did Lundell. He has 2 assists. He assisted on both goals on the Matador and Reinhardt goals. Right now, still 2-0 Florida at this point. Could this game still go either way?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you look at like the Tampa Toronto series. I know we already talked about this, and we might want to move on to a different series, possibly like the Carolina series. But I know that the one thing that I noticed is it looked like Tampa was in control of the game. They had a solid 2-0 lead, and then next thing you know, here comes Toronto, and they end up winning the game 4-2 or whatever. So that was the one thing that I noticed about these playoffs. Anything can happen, you know.
And that is very true. Just because you're the best team. Remember a few years ago, Tampa Bay got swept. They were the best team in the league, winning 62 regular season games. They get swept by Columbus. There's really no difference right here. Uh, always been there's been 8 seeded teams that won the Stanley Cup. They're seventh, even sixth on up, winning a Stanley Cup. So we'll go ahead and talk about the Carolina series. Uh, that series ended up in 6 games, a 2-1 win last night for the Carolina Hurricanes. That was a pretty good series. All these series have been very good this year, especially this one. A lot of people have been speculating that the Carolina Hurricanes could make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's my mom's pick. I chose
Okay.
Boston. I hope I hope I'm right, but I'm wrong because I don't know. Ray Bork situation, former defenseman, greatest defenseman in NHL history. Let's go
Well,
ahead and talk
I have the Bruins making it all the way to the Cup. So if they lose this game, then I'm out. My bracket's done. But I think I have one of my brackets. I had the Leafs making it all the way to the Cup, and I think the other one I took the Bruins. But that's the whole thing. When you look at these brackets, it's a lot of fun. And I think I had one bracket. I had the Canes going 7 because of just how strong I thought the Islanders were. But it turned out they didn't really. They just kind of gave up too much at the end, and Sebastian Aho played an amazing series. I'm really impressed with Aho. He has just come to light as a really solid player.
So when you talk about Sebastian Aho, which one are we talking about? The one from the Islanders or the Aho from the Hurricanes?
The one for the Canes. Yeah, I didn't realize they both had Ahos, but
That's really unique. I
yeah,
believe that happened one other time because there's two Nicholas Backstroms in the NHL. One was the center for the of course we know the Washington Capitals, and then the goaltender for the Minnesota Wild, which I haven't seen him play in years. But yeah, no, I hear and I see that Sebastian Aho played very well in this series. Paul Stas, the former Colorado Avalanche, got the game-winning goal last night in overtime.
yeah.
Uh,
It was
Hopefully,
kind of a weird shot. Like he shot it from a weird angle, and it just was a seeing eye puck. Like he shot it from like a bad angle, and it like hit the goaltender kind of 5-hole and went in. Like it was just almost kind of a fluke goal the way he just kind of threw it on net and it just went in. But that's hockey, baby. That's playoff
yeah,
hockey.
exactly. And Kenton Niemi, a former Montreal Canadian. Uh, let's talk about him for a while. What he did back, a couple of years ago, going into the Stanley Cup Finals of the Canadians. He really proved himself to a lot of NHL teams at that point, and pretty much he was going to be a restricted free agent at the end of that year, and he got offer sheeted by Carolina. Do you think that was a good pickup by Carolina?
Oh yeah, I mean Carolina. I that's kind of where I think that they're gonna need that depth going if they're gonna get towards the finals. Just because of them losing their two of their best players, and like I say, was it Pacioretty that they basically stole from Vegas,
Oh,
and then they
definitely.
lost. Yeah, and they lost him. So I mean, they've lost a lot of key depth that I think they're going to need. I would like to see Carolina go deep. I mean, we all like. I'm sure that your mom's probably in the same boat. We all predicted that the Canes to go deep this season just because of all the players they picked up, and then right when the playoffs started coming, they lost a lot of their depth. They had big key injuries, and I know a lot of the top hockey guys are like, "Man, how's Carolina going to go deep if they just lost all their top line? They lost two of their top 6, so that's going to be rough. Playing into their depth, and like I say, that's going to be part of what I look for going into like the second and third rounds into the Eastern Conference Final. That depth, I think, is going to come up huge. I mean, if Boston is able to, pull it out and stuff in this 7th game, I think they're going to be the team to beat in the East. But at the same time, you look at Florida. Florida is just pouring it on right at the right time. We didn't really expect this.
Well, there is a score update between the Panthers and Bruins, and it's a 2-1 score. So Bruins are just down by one in the second period. They just have a
Nice.
little half a game to go. So there's a lot of time left. We'll keep
Yep.
you up to date on that game until the end of the
Nice.
this broadcast. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Yeah, and like when you look at, I was really on the border. Like, I don't know if you have much ties to Winnipeg or anything. I know you said you have ties to Canada, and I know you've talked about Winnipeg before. But the Jets, they were predicted by a lot of the hockey guys to kind of as a dark horse to possibly go deep into the playoffs and kind of beat Vegas. And it was really hard for me. I almost kind of thought they could beat Vegas. But when you look at the West, I mean, you have all 8 teams that are over 100 points. I
Oh,
mean, that is just amazing. I mean, you don't have a bad team in the West. I mean, if the Kraken beat the Avs tonight, they could beat anybody in the West. They could beat anybody.
definitely.
But it's that whole thing that I don't. It's hard for me to say. I don't really see the Kraken having the depth to beat us. I think that it's going to be a good game 7. I think it's going to be a close game. I think we end up getting them. I would like to see it be kind of high scoring back and forth, but typically teams don't want to do that against us. I don't know if you remember last year in the Western Conference Finals when we went up against Edmonton and they just opened up the scoring. And I think it ended up being like one of the highest scoring games in all of Western Conference Final history. I think it was like 8-6.
Yep, 8-6,
Yeah.
14 goals. I remembered that game. I loved that series. There was a lot of differences on that one. So,
But
going
what did
to
you think? What did you think about the Jets and Knights series? As far as the Knights actually got it done, but I think the Jets played pretty solid.
they did, but it was still a pretty dominant series by Vegas. Vegas has been dominant every step of the way through at the beginning of the regular season. They missed the playoffs last year. They made some adjustments, and now they're storming the league again. Like they did the first year, going straight into the Stanley Cup Finals. This was 4-1 series win against Winnipeg. Winnipeg did play their hearts out. Maybe they could have won. They should have won a couple of those games, but Golden Knights, they pulled it off. They really won it this year, and if Colorado doesn't make it in there to the second round, or if they meet finals, if Vegas wins, I believe they can win the Stanley Cup this year. But like we say, anything can happen. I'll have to say that's probably be one of my predictions is if me being a diehard Avalanche fan, everybody that watches Grant's Hockey Talk knows that. But that's what I think. I think Vegas could win it if Colorado doesn't.
Well, and then we can look at for a second the Stars Wild series. I was actually kind of pulling for the Wild. It was really disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just kind of wanted to see I wanted it to go game 7 for one. But the Stars just showed their strength, and they just showed how they can just pretty much squash any team. And like I say, I think it'd be a good matchup for the Avs. I know that there was one game where they just dominated us in Dallas, and then we came back and we turned it around and we actually won it here in overtime. So, it's kind of one of those things where I think that would be a really good matchup for us if we can, get to the second round. But isn't that where it's at now? Whoever wins tonight will go play the Stars.
Pretty much, yep. Game 7. Dallas is in the second round right now. Edmonton, I believe, Edmonton's and Vegas are going to be playing here shortly. So, pretty much, I would be wrapping up or setting the second round. So right now we're just waiting on the Colorado Avalanche and the Seattle Kraken, which I'll be watching here in probably about an hour and a half. So go Avalanche! Hopefully we beat the Kraken.
Nice. Go
Um,
ahead.
exactly, exactly. Rangers Devils. That's been a series right there. Uh, that's another game 7 that would be set for tomorrow night. Uh, if they win, they go on to the next round. Who's got it?
I have the Rangers in my bracket, but the Devils have been super impressive this season. I kind of felt bad about picking the Rangers after I saw the Devils take the lead, and the Rangers actually they won last night decisive manner. I think they was it like 4-1, or I thought
Uh,
it was a pretty
5-2. 5-2 was the score.
5-2. Yeah, I know I saw it when they were up, but yeah, so I think that I thought that the Rangers would have a lot more depth than the Devils. That's why I picked the Rangers, and I could still be right. It's hard to say. Like I say, I didn't expect the Panthers to come out on Game 7 like they did, and it wasn't like the Bruins didn't have chances. I was watching the game earlier, and the Bruins had chances with empty nets. I mean, he had like an empty net and he freaking sailed it wide, So, there's been a few chances for the Bruins that you just like, you kick yourself. You're like, how did he miss that? It was
Right.
wide open net. The goalie was down. All he had to do is just hit the net and he didn't even come close. So it is what it is. I mean, I think the Avs had a lot of jitter in Game 1. I think they were kind of shaky and they didn't really know what was going on. And I feel after watching them in Game 6, if they come out flying like that, we are going to have a really good Game 7. And like I say, even if it's 1-0 overtime, that's going to be a fun game if they come out skating like they did in Game 6.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we'll
Well,
see. Regardless, I'm gonna enjoy it.
well, we're just about out of time here. I want to say on Sunday, this Sunday, we're gonna have a broadcast. We probably gonna have another special guest. And his name is Shaggy. I believe what channel is he from?
Locked on Avalanche.
Awesome.
So I'll try
And
to see. I'll actually message him and see if he's busy for next weekend. And then I know they didn't typically like to do any recording on the weekend, so I'll see. He made an exception for Friday. Then we couldn't get it going Friday, but it's not a big deal. It's been awesome that you're doing this, Grant, and I'll try to put together some stuff if I can to kind of make it easier. But it would be really awesome if Shaggy could join us. I'll try to see if I get him on and join us next Sunday.
well, if there's any viewers or anybody that's going to be watching this on my YouTube channel on Grant's Hockey Talk, this is the second live broadcast ever. And Willie Snyder over here, he's from Colorado, the state I used to live in. I would love to go back there. He's the one that helped me set all this up, to help me get my YouTube channel going. So if you like this broadcast, hit like, subscribe, comment down below. I'll be turning those comments on as soon as this broadcast is completely downloaded for those of you who want to watch it. Join us on Sunday at 5 o'clock Eastern time, or excuse me, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Mountain time. I am Grant from Grant's Hockey Talk. This is Will Snyder. Thank you very much, Will, for joining me again, and I'll see you Sunday.
All right, go Avs.
Go Avs. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and have a fabulous night.
Peace.